Our patrols were pretty much stuck together early on in the UAE prior to moving to RR.
With 3 patrols, that's 3 times 8, that's 24, where of course the squadron as a whole is bigger than that.
Yes.
So how did you get...
We only used half the squadron for the 3 patrols. They were based on a skills matrix.
Okay.
So you've got linguists, and you've got medics, and you've got patrol commanders, and you've got mobility guys. Because why was I put into a vehicle and somebody else was not?
Mm-hmm. Was the fact that you had an engineering background, did that come into
it? No, not at all. Almost your background, it only comes into it if you step forward and you say, I'm all over this one. Yeah. I know what I'm doing here. This is my bag. I'm good at this. And straight away people will let you take charge and stuff like that.
And then the guys in Bravo 30, did you know them well?
Yeah, very well. Andy was my patrol commander. I'd known Andy. He was my selection DS. Me and Andy used to go having a pint together, and we were really good pals. Gary was the driver of the front patrol. I'd done selection with Gary. Let me see. Tom didn't know well. Phenomenally fit sort of guy. He used to get down the gym of a night, and Tom would be in there. And he was a particularly good gymnast. His strength to body weight was phenomenal. You know, he was just like a gymnast, and you know, hundreds of press ups in one go and so on. You know, just phenomenally fit. We've moved up to Al Juf, to RR, and we're on the base there. And every night we'd get a briefing. Tomorrow, fellas, take the motorbikes out. Tomorrow, fellas, go and get your OPs sorted. Tomorrow we'll be on the Dens range. Tomorrow you'll be firing. And this just went on. And what they were doing, really, they were going to Schwarzkopf and saying, my lads can do this, my lads can do that. And Norman's coming back and he's saying, well, thanks, fellas. You know, I love your enthusiasm, but got it covered. Which is so often the way in the 1980s, 1990s with the SAS. You know, you turn up and look for the job. Till, of course, Saddam launches Scuds. And the politics behind that was very clever with Saddam. Effectively, he knew that he could disrupt a loosely held coalition by involving Israel and the Jewish population. The Americans were very, very keen that was kept out.
Yes.
All of a sudden, I think it must have been a light bulb moment. That's our job. Yeah. We will go and we will monitor Scuds. We will get eyes on at the earliest possible moment, and we will call in fast jets, giving exact locations. We didn't have to do very much in the way of combat. You know, we were small patrols, 4 men. We really only wanted to look after ourselves and keep ourselves out of trouble. When you've got, you know, £50 million fast jets, they can do the ordnance delivery and so on. So we had a job. Very quickly, we knocked together a plan. 3 patrols. Okay, fellas. A set of orders from the boss, and he says, okay, you're going in, and this is basically what we want you to achieve, which is always the SAS way. The SAS, they don't tell you, you will do this, 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 and this. Not necessarily. They'll say, you know, this is the task. This is what you've got to achieve. Yes. Come up with your plan. You then feed back your plan. If they're happy with the production of it, you then tighten it down and produce the fine tune. Okay, so what we decided, Bravo 30 decided that we were going to take 2 vehicles, a Pinkie and a Dinkie. You asked me before, you know, how we were able to
because there was only one 110 wheelbase.
One 110 and 190. And the 90 was a diesel and the 110 was a petrol. Okay. And the 90 we called the Dinkie, and the 110 we called the Pinkie. The Pinkie was fucked. That's why we got the Pinkie. It was left. Nobody was going to risk a patrol. It was there because it was when A and D squadron disappeared, it was left in the middle of the square, you know, looking sorry for itself. We said, okay, can we get it going? Gary did a phenomenal job driving that Pinkie, and you know, phenomenal, especially as Gary was a mountain troop soldier.
Uh-huh.
You know, he wasn't even a mobility troop, but boy, he could do anything with that vehicle. So we got that, and we had these two vehicles, and we stripped the Pinkie down. No, the Pinkie was done. We stripped the Dinkie down, and kitted it out for war fighting. It was tiny. It was going to be the rear protection, and that was going to be Des's patrol. Des was in charge of rear protection.
These vehicles have come from the RAF. They were never sort of designed.
They were certainly not war fighting platforms. No, they were for getting you to Ross Rangers or the NAFI.
Okay.
You know, they were not war fighting platforms. The Pinkie, to be fair, was, but then again, that was, you know, they were very much based on what they were using in 1942 in the desert, as opposed to say what you would see up at Hereford these days, where you would have a monstrously effective platform. Okay, so we had the two vehicles, and then we were put into isolation.
Did you remember discussing escaping Evasion in advance, whether you were at Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. It was quite funny when we received orders from the boss. I noticed he had about 15 sheets of orders, and he's talking us through and actions on this, and you know what to do at this point and stuff like that. And I just noticed that we were getting to the end, and nobody had mentioned how we were getting out. And I don't think I made myself any friends with the head shed. And when at the end of it, I just said, well, I think my mum would want to know. He said, have you got any questions? I said, I think my mum's got one.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, you know, flipping Scouse twat. And he said, yeah. I said, how are we getting out? And honestly, I must. It wasn't intentional to make him look soft or anything like that. And I'm sure he never, but he looked, you know, it kind of pulled the chair from under him. He had senior, I think Massey and Delabilio. No, Holmes was at the back, who was CO22 at the time, and you know, so effectively, the squadron commander hadn't mentioned an exfil plan. Right. Now, okay, that's fine, so long as you mention that there is no exfil plan, and we'll give you an exfil plan, you know, by radio orders. But that would have been if it included in the. But there was just no mention of how we were getting out, and there was a lot of talk about deep searching. There was a lot of talk about being on your own. There was a lot of talk about maybe a resupply, but there was very little talk about getting out. And I remember that you know that struck me.
Yes.
As something I wanted to know. Anyway, that was smoothed over, and I don't.
As a patrol, you presumably got together and did you have actions on?
Very, very good point. Yes, but we based our E&E plan on having vehicles but basically we wanted to give ourselves the ability to run as well as hide. Now, if you think about the other two foot patrols, they had the ability to hide.
Bravo 10, Bravo 20.
But they didn't have the ability to run. Now, on the occasions when we needed to run, and there were a number of them, we were able to put 50k between the sighting that we got of the enemy and they of us. And in 2 hours, we were 50k away from that situation. I comes back from the loo, and I've just been talking to Legs. And Andy's been over, my patrol commander, the guy who was my PC in the jungle. He comes back and he says, Mitch's patrol aren't taking vehicles. I said, oh. He said, he's just run me through his plan. He said, and be fair, I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
Oh. He said, we better get our heads together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all sat round. I remember it well, all 8 of us. And we're all chipping in as you want. This is what we call the Chinese Parliament. Anyway, there was a lot of feel, and I think that Des describes the Chinese Parliament pretty well in the book, as I remember it. And what it came down to was that we wanted to, as well as get in there, and Mitch's patrol was good. It was a good plan, but what we wanted to be able to do was run. If we needed to, we wanted to put distance between us in a situation as fast as we can. And the only way we were going to do that, by the time you looked at the load that you would have to carry on foot, by the time you're carrying all your infantry gear, all your food and water, and your OP supplies, which are your sticks and your wire and your burlap and so on for building your OP, you're talking a lot. Plus your ammunition.
Yes.
You're talking an awful lot of
£200 probably.
Yeah, you know, if you put all the kit you wanted, it would weigh 220, 250 pounds, no question about it. You can't carry 220. You know, you've got to half it. So what are you going to leave? Okay. And then
the idea is to shuttle it, right? I guess to ferry it from.
Yeah, you would have to do that even with 150 pound, 120 pounds. You know, plus you put that load on your back, you're staggering. You've got no speed of movement. You know, you are doing a K an hour on good going. In Iraq, we flew over it. We flew in on the helicopter, and it was just Wembley Stadium. It was just flat, bare-arsed, highly illuminating. I think there was a full moon for a lot of the time. We could see, with no night vision, we could see 5K. We could see an individual soldier at 5K. Because when we went out and did clearance, you know, we would be on the ground. We would do a whopping big clearance. Realistically, you had to go out sort of 4 and 5K. We would do 3K away from our position just to make sure, knowing that really we needed to do about 5K because illumination, the paleness of the sand, the whiteness of the sand, visibility was phenomenal at night. It was almost as good as in the day. We picked pretty roughly where we were going to be putting ourselves down, where we were, and we decided, we're taking vehicles, end of, and Andy was happy with that, and we came up with what I think was a really good, simple plan. And what it'd be is the two vehicles would come off the helicopters at a place about 20 kilometres south of the MSR that we were tasked to watch,
which is the main supply route that the Iraqi army used.
That's right. Where the Scuds were known to be coming from Baghdad, heading west, and we were going to go up on high ground and watch them. And then as soon as we saw a Scud, we could get on the radio and the fast jet could do the rest. So they said, "Oh, it'll be coming in," and a few hours later, young fat corporal comes down with a load of satellite imagery of the spots. He said, "I believe you guys are going here." Okay, and we all looked at it and said, "Right, what can you tell us about that?" Because it meant absolutely nothing. If anyone's ever looked at 20K satellite imagery of the desert, it wasn't telling us a lot. It looked absolutely like everywhere else we'd been. Remember the corporal says, "No," he said, "can't tell you nothing about it." He said, "Haven't done the course." So it's a long course, three-month course to interpret satellite imagery. So you haven't done the course. You're showing us. So it was a light moment with a sort of, you know, a serious backdrop to it. Yes. We were given the kit and we just looked, and it was more of the same. It followed the fag packet that we were working from. Okay, so our plan, as I say, was very simple, and to my mind was really good. Okay, so we'd get dropped from the helicopter, and when we'd done all the normal SOPs, which we can talk about in a minute, we'd drive to OP position, right? So we'd see the MSR in the distance. We'd say, okay, we go get what we could get, a bit of high ground, and we'd drop off the OP patrol. That was going to be the front vehicle. That was going to be the Pinkie patrol, which was my patrol. We'd drop all the stores off, all the wire, the burlap, the sticks and riveting, and then the rear protection would split their patrol, their 4-man patrol, down into the two vehicles, and take the two vehicles away. Distance we estimated was probably going to be about 10K. Yes. Maybe 6 miles. Something like that.
Stayed with the vehicle, of course not.
And they would stay with the vehicle. They would have comms with the OP patrol. The OP patrol would be watching the target. We would have comms with the rear protection. The rear protection would be with the vehicles, obviously a tactical distance from the actual vehicles.
All the kit with the vehicles apart from
what our food, our water, our fighting gear, and our OP gear, and our optics and our radios. So that was our plan. The point being that if there was going to be a bump of the OP patrol, if they were compromised and they had to run somewhere, then we had an ERV a mile away. We would say contact ERV, and the vehicles would pick up and move straight to the ERV. Yeah. So they would be they would pick us up. We'd have run from the OP. On the other hand, if the if the vehicle protection got bumped, then they would just move the vehicles if they could.
Still to that same RV, or depending on what?
Yeah, depending. They would just move to another RV.
Okay, and let you know.
Let us know we are now at, and we would carry on watching. And that was the plan. That was a good plan. It gave us confidence.